So men, you find yourself sexualizing and objectifying women constantly, right? So most of the masculinity that we learn is really based on sexualizing and objectifying women, right? It's really just built into it. We see it in the music, we see it in the movies. We have lived through it our whole lives, many of you. I'm 41 years old, and I can tell you it's been in movies, music, rap music in particular that I listen to. There's this whole sexualization of women constantly. And you don't realize the damage it does to your ability to date well, to communicate with women, to see women as whole human beings worthy of more than just sex, because it's just embedded into your programming, right? And you may even think you're not sexualizing women, and the chances are that you are, because we all are to some degree, lesser or more, right? So you're listening to this because you want to stop, right? Because you want to know why I stopped, right? And I made a very conscious decision when I noticed what I was doing and the impact it was having on my dating life. And actually, maybe let me tell you about that. What I was noticing was that I was looking at women in a way, just like many men do, I take responsibility, is that I was just looking at them as pieces, like nice ass, nice titties, nice face, nice eyes, all these things, and looking at women on the street and from just this standpoint and not seeing the whole woman, right? Which meant when I was dating, you're looking at photos, or in my day, you were walking up to women and talking to them in bars, right? I didn't do as that. I did some online dating, but you're scanning for just the looks, and you don't allow your mind to permeate deeper. Even when you get a picture of somebody, you can permeate deeper than that. You can start to think, oh, what vibe does this person have? Their dress sense, all these sorts of things which can link to values and the ways of living and who they are as a person. But when you're stuck sexualizing, all you see is prettiness and beauty, right? If you're stuck objectifying, you just see titties and ass, nice, not nice, good, bad, attractive, unattractive. Your mind can't go any deeper than that. And this is a big problem if you're dating, because what I see of a lot of men that I work with is that they're stuck on this surface level, this veneer of attractiveness, of looks and pieces of a woman. And when they go to date, they don't have the depth to have conversations that would have women actually be attracted to them, right? This is one of the biggest problems men are facing. They don't have the emotional and conversational depth to meet women. And then they put it all down to, because the depth of their thinking is only down to looks. So they put down their lack of success down to looks. Well, it's not. It's a lack of conversational, emotional, and I guess self-awareness as well, emotional depth and self-awareness that gets in the way. But that stuff is for another podcast episode, right? So how did I stop this sexualization and objectification is a word I really struggle to say, objectification of women? Number one, I noticed I was doing it, right? I noticed something was up. I noticed that I was looking at women and just really looking at them from, are they sexy? Are they not? You know, do I want to fuck her? Do I want to not? Right? And I would watch TV, whether I was watching some football or athletics or a movie. And that's what my brain was basically polling and asking, right? And I guess some of my noticing came off the back of kind of like post Me Too times and conversations I had with other men. But part of it also came with this maturing of like, oh, actually, like, what am I looking to do with my life? What am I looking for myself? Am I just going to be sleeping with lots of more women in my life? Is that what I'm going to put my attention to? Because that's what I spent a lot of years doing when I was single. It was just sleeping with lots of women. And I started to look for more meaning and purpose and what do I want to do with my life? What do I want my life to be like? And I started to ask these questions of myself. So the second thing I did was I chose to want to change it. Most men will get stuck at this first level one, I said there, right, noticing that something's up and just go, it's fine. It's what men do. All men are like that. It's normal. I'm a red-blooded man. Like, I desire women. It's normal to be like that. And that's where you get stuck and then you don't change. That's what we do with a lot of things. We just go, it's normal. I don't need to change it. Because it allows us to avoid the uncomfortability of us looking at ourselves and thinking, oh, that thing about me is wrong or bad, and I'm going to do something about it. Because in the wrong and bad, or it needs to change, we feel shame. And by just saying it's normal, we can avoid having to feel that shame, right? And that's something we do. That's the shadow really at play. So I wanted to change it. I wanted to do something about it because I knew I could see in myself that this was not something that was healthy and good for the future I wanted to create in terms of the work I wanted to do, the sort of relationship I wanted to create, because it was a distraction as well, right? It was filling my brain with things I didn't need to be there. So I acknowledged it. I said, I want to change this behavior. So one of the first things I did, the third point on here, and the first kind of real actions that I took, was I stopped watching porn. This kind of come off the back of, I was studying Tantra, and it was a homework that my Tantra teacher at the time gave us to do, us men. We were in like a men's group. He was like, stop watching porn. And it was start to masturbate in a very different way, right? Which is mindful masturbation, which I've done episodes about. And this really started to shift my whole perception of where I got my arousal from. Because before we get arousal by looking at women, we're like, oh, woman, aroused. I feel aroused because of woman. And what this not watching porn and mindful masturbation did was shift my arousal from outside of me to my own sensations and feelings in my body. It becomes self-generated. I didn't need something outside of me to feel turned on. So that was a really important step of it, because it shifts something in a man. And I've seen it with a lot of my clients when they stop watching porn and I give them the mindful masturbation to do. They see how their attraction for women starts to shift. They actually start to become attracted to different types of women as well. That's something that's commonly seen in them. Step 4, right? Step 4 is really important. I started to pay attention to the whole woman, right? As I said, most men are just looking at titties, arse, bums, faces, eyes, whatever, right? They're looking at the particular objects on a woman, not the whole woman. So I started to make a conscious effort that when I saw a woman that I felt was attracted to or thought was attractive, I took her wholeness in. Who is she? How does she move? What does she look like she does for a living? What confidence, what elegance, what energy do I feel from her? Right? I started to read deeper than just the veneer of looks and feel deeper into her, think deeper into her based on the cues and signs I could see about her. Right? And this would be with women I was talking to and I would meet when I was out and about in my life, but also just strangers. Right? And this started to make a big shift because I started to just feel women more deeply. Right? This was a big part of it. And the next level, actually, it's probably 6. I didn't put this in initially, but as I'm saying it, this is definitely something I did, is I started to consciously learn about the experience of being a woman in the world. This is something that most men avoid doing, or they listen to what it's like to be a woman based on like hype podcasts by 22-year-olds talking about, I just want a man with a big dick and a big bank account, right? And then you're like, oh, that's what women are like. But those 22-year-olds, their brains are barely developed, right? I was reading like books and articles and listen to podcasts from, dare I say, intelligent academics and women who study women, women who are in circle with women, are in depth and vulnerability with women. So I started to listen to understand what women's experiences were like. And because this was obviously post Me Too, there was a lot of information I could get my hands on very easily through news articles about women's safety, around their fears, around what it feels like to be sexualized constantly. And I started to be like, oh my God, I'm part of this. And I don't want to be part of this. I don't want to make any woman feel like that. And I can resonate with some of the sexualization because of the way that as a black man, I've actually felt from women this sexualization, especially in my younger years, where women were just kind of fetishizing me because I was a big black man and they were from the Shires or they were from some European country where they don't meet black women. And they were like, I want to have a black man experience. And I was highly sexualized and they ignored who I was. They ignored the fact that I love to travel and have all these interests and I can talk about all manner of topics. So I can really get how that felt, right? So that's something I did. I learned about women. Number 6, I put less value on sex and more value on connection. Before this work I was doing, I was really, especially when I was single, like I said, I just wanted to sleep with as many women as I could. It's just something I was doing. And that was where my focus was. And I started to switch my focus from my end goal being, let's get some sex, right? To my end goal being, let's be really curious and connect more deeply, right? And this was something that I consciously did. Less focus on sex, more focus on deeper connection, right? And I just, as you're listening to this, you know, women do want to have sex too, but I put the connection first. This meant sometimes I would turn down sex. I would not even pursue certain connections because there was no depth and interest to me in the person I was with, right? And I guess this might sound like a luxury position, but it's a position I was in after all the work I'd done on myself over many, many years. So I started to be more interested in their lives, who they were, what they feared, what they wanted, and really deeply getting to who they were as people, to be curious, so I could experience and feel the whole woman, not just the composite parts. And then the next piece I did, 7, was I would minimize my time with men who objectified women. This is really this is important and also sometimes difficult for a lot of men, because if all the men you know are just constantly objectifying women, then you know taking this step can feel quite lonely. And it did at times, because there was a few people in my life where I just stopped seeing so much. But it made a huge difference because I wasn't constantly around these conversations where we're just looking at women, or people are talking about married men I knew, or men in relationship were talking about women who in their workplace and blah, 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 in this kind of degrading and sexualized way, right? I just wasn't exposed to it. So I wasn't around it so much. So it wasn't permeating into my brain as much. And then the last step, and it's never really a last step, I think it's just a continual thing, but this last step is like consciously stopping myself from speaking these like objectifying thoughts and choosing something else. So instead of watching the football and seeing the women's football team and being like, my brain might go, oh, look, she's really hot. She has a nice ass. Instead of just speaking out loud unconsciously, I would choose something else. I'd be like, okay, that's my first thought. What's my second thought? Actually, she's got a really great touch. You know? Oh, she really has like lovely vision. or whatever it is. I'm a football guy, so I watch a lot of football, right? Because I started to deprogram my mind consciously. Right, I made this choice, and this started to shift how I saw women. It started to shift how women experienced me, for sure. You know, I feel like I've always met great women, but when I did this work, I started to meet women who were a lot more in alignment with the woman I said I wanted to meet, and I wanted to be in a relationship with. Right, because I was able to connect with women even deeper than I was before, and I was had a good level of depth, right? But I was able to really understand women. And I think part of it was that I could stand in front of really attractive women and not be overawed by attractiveness. You'd be like, okay, you're an attractive woman. Cool, fine. I know that. What else? Whereas most men, they see an attractive woman and part of their brain shuts down. You can see it in their face. Their eyes just get fixated. Their mouths drop open. To me, it was just be like, yeah, I've just seen another tree. Oh, there's a tree. There's trees everywhere. And this is the impact, because it meant I just had more capacity to be curious and open to the person in front of me and not fixated on looks and so forth. And it was a really interesting journey. It wasn't always easy, but there were things I had to give up. I had to give up that little boy who at school wasn't attractive to women, right? There's some inner child work in there as well. The boy who wasn't attractive to women, who just wanted to kind of prove everyone else that he was now attractive. So let me just go over those steps for you. I learned to notice there was something up, right? Objectification. I chose to change it. I stopped watching porn. Paid attention to the whole woman. I started to learn about women and their experiences more. This is a very important one. Men, we don't do this. We often do this by going to other men and listening to them instead of listening to women who know about women, right? Who are like deep in women, not just some 22-year-olds talking about their mates. We're talking about women who have lived and experienced and have been around women who've lived and experienced. Women who are depth. It's listening to those sorts of women that's really important. I put less value on sex and more value on connection. I minimize my time with men who objectify women, and I consciously stop speaking out loud the objectifying thoughts. Yeah, these are the really important aspects for us to stop sexualizing and objectifying women, because it will help you in your relationship. It will help you in your dating life. It will help you with your emotional awareness. It will help you with your emotional depth, right? So that you can have better, healthier relationships with the women that you choose to meet, to date, to love, and so forth. If you love this episode, share it with somebody. Let me know what you thought down below. Is there a stage here that you're at, something that you've tried? Maybe there's something that helped you that I haven't mentioned in here as well. Just to let you know as well, I'm going to be running a program for men really about cultivating depth, cultivating depth of connection, and cultivating self-leadership, right? Because that's what we're really struggling with, men, right? And also, obviously, there's always a community aspect when I run things. So if that's something you're interested in, there's a wait list down below. I mean, you get a huge discount when you decide to jump in. Ciao, ciao.